There are several new legal fights brewing over migration across the U.S.-Mexico border. Today, a federal judge blocked the Biden administration's attempt to limit asylum seekers after several immigrants' rights groups sued, arguing that Biden's policy was unfair and a repeat of the Trump-era policy. Separately, the Department of Justice is suing the state of Texas for putting floating barriers on the Rio Grande River to try and deter people from crossing from Mexico. The DOJ says Texas failed to get authorization for the buoys and that they pose a risk to public safety. Texas's Republican Governor Greg Abbott shot back, writing, "Mr. President, see you in court." To dive into the latest, we are joined by Texas Tribune reporter Uriel Garcia. Uriel, thank you so much for being here. What is the argument that the Department of Justice is making here?
What the DOJ is arguing is that the Rio Grande is an international border, and for any state to want to implement any kind of barrier on international waters, it needs the federal government's permission to do so. And in turn, like I said, it's an international border that's shared with Mexico, so Mexico would have to be involved in those talks as well. Mexico has also filed a complaint and is investigating if Texas violated any sort of international laws or agreements between Mexico and the U.S.
And again, people who might look at that video and see those floating buoys, it's not totally clear how they stop people from crossing. What is the governor arguing those things actually do, and why is he putting them in the water?
Well, it's something to note is that we're talking about the Texas-Mexico border being about 1,200 miles, and those buoys are in a very small section of the border. It's I believe, about 1,000 feet. And so, people can cross around it, but for the migrants who are crossing through Eagle Pass, are encountering these buoys. And what it's supposed to do is basically make it difficult for migrants to swim across the Rio Grande. And of course, if it makes it more difficult, we're talking about a very consequential thing, which is migrants dying in the Rio Grande.
This also comes after about a week ago, we saw this leaked memo that was urging Texas state troopers to treat migrants coming across in some truly inhumane ways, and using barbed wire, including pushing some of those people back into the water, even though there might be children in those groups. Remind us again what else that memo might have said and what the impact of that has been.
It was the Houston Chronicle who first reported this, and we were able to see those emails ourselves. It was an email that a DPS trooper who works as a medic had told his superiors or his bosses, basically, that he was concerned about some of the tactics that, or some of the orders that troopers were given. Among the orders was to deny water to some of the migrants who were waiting already on the river banks of the American side. And in one case, the emails say that the troopers were ordered, in one case, to push migrants back into the water, which included children there. There were other cases. The emails also detailed other instances in which a pregnant woman who was having a miscarriage was entangled in some of these wires as well, and a child had his leg broken as he was trying to swim around some of the wires that were actually in the river. So the emails provided very specific examples, but also alluded to potential inhumane orders, as the emails say, that were given to the troopers.
And has there been any blowback to this revelation?
Yes. Shortly after that reporting, DPS told the Texas Tribune that they have opened up an investigation to determine if these allegations from these troopers are true or false. And at the same time, DPS has been on a PR campaign, tweeting out videos and pictures and sending out emails detailing cases in which troopers have been helping migrants who are dehydrated or need medical attention. So they're on the defensive. At the same time, the governor has defended his policies, but has denied that there have not been any orders to deny water or push migrants back into the Rio Grande.
I want to talk about this judge's order knocking down the Biden asylum policy. Remind us what Biden's policy was and what the judge said about it.
The Biden administration policy, what it said is that it required migrants to seek asylum in a third country before trying to seek asylum in the U.S. If they didn't seek asylum in the third country, they would most likely be denied asylum if they were seeking those protections in the U.S. And today, a judge, as you said, struck down that policy.
I understand that this is going to be appealed and may go up through several other courts. In the meantime, though, does this change things for people who are waiting on the other side of the U.S. border, hoping to appeal for asylum into the U.S.?
Well, at least for the next 2 weeks, as the district judge said, he'll keep the policy in place. We'll see how the appeals court decides, but for now, the status quo stays the same.
All right, Uriel Garcia of the Texas Tribune, thank you so much for being here and sharing your reporting.
Thank you for inviting me.